A black tie dinner in Washington, D.C. turned into a security nightmare. And if you saw the clips online, you probably heard 10 different versions of the story. Some people said it was an assassination attempt. Others said it was a security failure. And some people immediately jumped into conspiracy theories. And then somehow within hours, the whole thing turned into a national argument about Jimmy Kimmel, media rhetoric, political violence, the Secret Service, and whether now America is so divided that even an attack on a sitting president becomes a partisan fight before the facts are even clear. So let me walk you through exactly what happened before, during, and after the White House Correspondents Dinner shooting scare. This video may get a little long, so if you don't have time, I would like you to save this video and watch it later, because the real story is already disturbing enough without adding all the fake details. The event was the White House Correspondents Dinner at the Washington Hilton in Washington, D.C. Crazy enough, this is the same location where there was another presidential assassination attempt on none other than President Ronald Reagan. President Trump was there with Melania, J.D. Vance was there, several cabinet officials and members of the media were also inside. So this was a major political event with some of the most protected people in the country in one building. According to federal prosecutors, the suspect was Cole Thomas Allen, a 31-year-old from California. And prosecutors say this was nothing close to being random. They say Allen booked a room at the same hotel before the dinner. He allegedly traveled across the country by train from California to Washington, D.C., checked into the hotel the day before the dinner. Authorities say he had a 12-gauge shotgun, handgun, knives, ammunition, and other gear. That is the first major detail. This was not just someone walking up from outside. According to prosecutors, he was already staying inside the hotel while the dinner was happening. New chilling video has actually surfaced of Allen scoping out the hotel before the event even happened. While Trump and everyone were inside, Allen approached a security checkpoint that led towards the event area. Prosecutors say he ran through the magnetometer with a long gun. That's when Secret Service and law enforcement reacted. Here you see law enforcement setting off a few rounds at point-blank range, but miraculously, none of them hit the suspect. Inside the ballroom, people heard loud noises and agents immediately rushed towards Trump and Melania. Trump and Melania was secured, J.D. Vance was secured, and people were told to take cover, and the event was quickly shut down. Now, one of the most important facts is this. The suspect never reached the ballroom. Secret Service stopped him before he ever got to Trump. That's why officials argue the security system worked. But critics are asking a fair question. How did an armed man staying inside the hotel get close enough to charge a checkpoint where the president was physically present? Both things can be true. Secret Service stopped him, but the public still deserves answers on how he got that close in the first place. During the confrontation, one Secret Service member was hit in the chest area, but thankfully, because of his ballistics vest, he was protected. Authorities say officers returned fire. The suspect was not shot. Officials say he fell, he injured his knees, and was taken into custody. But this became one of the biggest disputed parts of the story. The government says the suspect hit the officer's vest. The Secret Service denies that this was a friendly fire. Trump also pushed back on the friendly fire theory. But the suspect's defense attorneys say that the public video doesn't clearly show when his weapon was fired. That detail matters because this case is now going through the court, and not every fact is fully settled yet. Later, Trump spoke from the White House and praised the Secret Service, saying the officer's vest likely saved his life. Allen was charged federally, including with attempting to assassinate the President of the United States and firearm-related charges. Prosecutors say the attack was planned. They pointed to the hotel booking, the travel from California, the weapons, and a message Allen allegedly sent before the incident. Yes, authorities are saying that Allen sent a message shortly before the attack to his brother saying he wished he could have said something earlier, but doing so would have made none of this possible. He allegedly signed it with the phrase "friendly federal assassin." This is one of the details prosecutors are using to argue intent, but the defense is pushing back. His attorneys argue that the government is making assumptions and that his writing did not directly name Trump, and the way some people online are claiming. Basically, the defense has no defense for this. They say the government has not fully proven motive yet, but we all know what he was trying to do. Now, that alone would already be a major story, but then the aftermath exploded. On the right, the reaction was simple. They argue this is what happens when Trump is constantly described as a dictator, a fascist, and a threat that must be stopped. The argument wasn't just about this one suspect. It was about the broader culture around Trump. Conservatives pointed out that when politicians, media figures, and late-night hosts spend years portraying Trump as unequally evil, unstable people may eventually take that seriously. On the left, of course, the response was different. Many condemned the attack, but they argued Trump and his allies were using the incident to blame critics and avoid their own role in America's political hostility. So instead of the country agreeing that an armed attack near a sitting president is unacceptable, the story immediately became a fight over who created the climate for it. Then Jimmy Kimmel got pulled into the center of it. 2 days before the shooting scare, Kimmel made a very distasteful joke.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
Well, that joke aged like already expired milk. Trump and Melania blasted Kimmel. Trump called for ABC and Disney to fire him. Melania accused people like Kimmel of spreading hate into American homes every night. The right saw Kimmel's joke as proof of how comfortable anti-Trump media figures have become with death-adjacent jokes about Trump. The left saw it was a tasteless joke, not an incitement to violence, and they accused Trump of using that shooting scare to pressure media companies into punishing one of his critics. Even some conservatives were split. Some said Kimmel's joke was disgusting and exposed a real double standard. Others said blaming a comedian for an attack without direct evidence is a dangerous standard and could backfire on conservatives later. Then came the conspiracy theories. A large amount of people on the left are claiming this was all staged. Some said this was a false flag. Some said the officer was hit by friendly fire. Others claimed there had to be a larger plot. As of now, those claims haven't been proven. Officials say they don't have evidence that anyone else was involved. The Secret Service denies the friendly fire claim, and while some details are still being disputed in court, there is a big difference between asking legitimate questions and claiming the whole thing was staged. And there are legitimate questions. For starters, how did the suspect get weapons inside the hotel? Were hotel guests screened carefully enough before an event with the president? Did security know anything about him beforehand? How close did he actually get? How strong is the evidence proving his exact motive? Those are all fair questions, but the core story is clear. A sitting president was inside a major event when an armed suspect tried to breach security. That should be easy for everyone to condemn, but immediately the country split into two different realities. One side saw it as proof that anti-Trump rhetoric has gone too far. The other side saw it as proof that Trump uses every crisis to attack the media. And that might be the most disturbing part of the whole story, because the suspect was stopped, the president was safe, the officer survived, but the reaction showed just how broken this country is. Even an alleged assassination attempt near a sitting president couldn't create one clear national moment of agreement. Instead, it became another partisan battlefield. And if America can't agree that political violence against a president is unacceptable without immediately turning it into a scoreboard, then we are in a much more dangerous place than people want to admit.